So socialism is Marxism.
Yes, but
And
with one proviso: to get it elected willingly.
that's democratic.
Yes,
You
and but
choose it.
yes, but
Got
they
it.
can't. They always say we do not, or we're not going to take over the method, the means of production. Not like Marx. It didn't work. So, as a democratic socialist, vote for me, Mondami.
Uh-huh.
Although he did say
I was
privately
just
he
about to
wanted,
say. Yeah, he said
yeah,
he was going to do that.
yeah, as a communist, but he didn't say that publicly. So what he says, what democratic socialists say is, as they do in Europe, vote for us, you get to have your private property, but we're going to give you, like, sort of like California, we're going to control energy, we're going to have a 13.3 tax rate, we're going to be redistributionist, but we're not going to take your house, or we're not going to tell you. The problem is what we've termed creeping socialists. Usually socialism doesn't work. So what happens, it creeps up. They say it doesn't work because we were not socialist enough. So then they start to regulate the utilities, and then they start telling you you can hire in the university, and then they do this. So in America, when we talk about Marxism, we reflect this large spectrum from hardcore murderous communism where there's no freedom, they just regiment, they're totalitarian, to people who say they're not communists but they're democratic socialists. But because socialism doesn't work, as you see in the EU, they gradually then start to outlaw free speech, and they go on that trajectory where it ends up. Uh, and so we call those creeping socialists.
And
And
creeping towards communism,
com-
obviously.
keeping toward communism, but
Victor,
nobody really wants communism because they know the history of it.
can you explain to me, though? I don't understand. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I actually do not understand the difference outside of, like, we don't want to be communist and we're democratic socialists, and they're totally different things. But then on the other hand, someone goes, that's not true. Socialism is the road to communism,
Yes.
and communism is considered the utopia. I don't understand the difference. What is the difference
Okay.
between communism and socialism, just unto
Okay.
themselves?
Communism says that we have to turn society upside down and abolish private property,
Oh, totally.
and totally, and have the government control speech, the movie, everything has to. It's kind of like a DEI on steroids. Everything has to be ideology. The movies, your school, everything has to be indoctrinated, and there is no dissent, because if you have dissent, you will fool the proletariat. You'll try to beguile them or bewitch them. So only this official ministry of truth, kind of what Orwell talked about.
Got it.
And so the socialists say, no, 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 no. We're going to just help people by having the government take control of profit-making exploitive industries, such as power. We're going to regulate power. We're going to regulate the oil industry. We're going to regulate healthcare. We're going to regulate this. And because we're benevolent and we don't need to make profit, they will be cheaper, like a form of Affordable Care Act. And then the critics say, well, if you take away individual incentive, then people will not work to their full capacity because they're not accountable.
Every fall, there's that shift in the air, right? Mornings get a little cooler, the light changes, and suddenly you're reaching for layers that make you feel grounded, comfortable, pulled together. And those are just a few of the things that I love about quints, because their pieces don't scream for attention, but the second you put them on, you feel the difference. They've nailed the sweet spot of luxury quality without the luxury markup. Their $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters are ridiculously soft, not too heavy, not too thin, not itchy. It is literally the perfect layer that I wear under a coat or on its own. The denim fits like a dream. Clean lines, flattering on everyone. These are the kind of staples that end up on repeat. It's your personal fall uniform without even trying. My favorite piece is the Italian wool coat. Oh my God. The one I have looks and feels designer, but it costs a fraction of the price. The tailoring is beautiful. The weight is perfect. And somehow I manage to look great effortlessly every time I have it on. And what makes quints different is how they work. So they partner with ethical top-tier factories, the same ones that produce for major designer labels, and they cut out the middlemen. So you're getting exceptional craftsmanship, responsible production, and prices that are about half of what you'd normally pay for pieces of this quality. So it's refined without being fussy, elevated but approachable. The kind of wardrobe that makes you feel like you've grown into your style and finally stop compromising between quality and cost. Find all your staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/Jillian for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. So if you're intimidated about designing a website, don't worry. Shopify's got you covered from the get-go with beautiful, ready-to-go templates to match your brand style. And if you need a hand, you can get help with everyday tasks like enhancing product images, writing product descriptions, generating discount codes. Shopify's AI tools are created for commerce. And if people haven't heard about your brand, Shopify helps you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. They have you 365-degree covered. So turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. So sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Jillian. Just go to shopify.com/Jillian. That's shopify.com/Jillian.
And they're not going to be effective on the purpose of idealism, or they're just such wonderful people. They don't need it to loaf around on the job or not take a salary. And eventually you will see that it doesn't work. And what you will do is what they always do. You will not be introspective. You will not open a bit debate. You will start to shut down criticism, and you will double down. You'll call criticism misinformation, disinformation, enemies, right-wing crazy, fascists. You'll do anything but allow an open discussion of why socialism is contrary to human nature and has always impoverished people. And then, so then they, of course, deny that, but you'll see that it creeps along to you until you have inefficiency, and more importantly, they start to suppress free speech, as we've seen in the EU. You can't say certain things.
Right.
You can't criticize open borders. You can't criticize Israel in the EU, or you're going to be in trouble. And the other thing that is the criticism of socialism is eventually you have a cadre, the European EU elite, or here in America, a person like Bernie Sanders with 3 houses, or Mondani, very wealthy, or Ilhan Omar, now worth millions. You always say that you're for the people, but you say this, kind of like John Kerry says, I have to fly private so I can advance, global warming advocacy against it. You always create a cadre that's not subject to the consequences of its ideology. And that was brilliantly pointed out in Orwell's Animal Farm, where he said the pigs get to finally walk on 2 legs, just like humans, because they're trying to help animals on 4 legs. And then they go into the house and they eat with humans and they feast, and they become exactly like the people that the pigs originally overthrew, the humans, and kicked them off.
Right.
So, and that was, Orwell really, he was the greatest critic of, he said he was a socialist, but he was the greatest critic of creeping socialism that ultimately went to communism. So they always use the word fascist as their critics, a fascist, and there's 2 reasons they do that. Fascism is very similar in the sense that it is a marriage between industry and government, but the difference between fascism and socialism is the government has kind of a crony capitalism. It picks and chooses people and says, if you're Adolf Hitler and you're coming to power, I need the German industrialists. If you support my state control and censorship and my policies of national, I will allow you to make all the money in aluminum that you need. And you can develop the petrochemical industry. Private, make it all. But I'm going to control winners and losers. And then the state then exercises control of the media, but it's usually for a small cadre of particular people. And the difference also is in the propaganda. The communist says he's for the brotherhood of man and he's for equality of result.
Uh-huh.
And the fascist says that he's usually for nationalism, and that their country and their common creed or their common race or their common religion have been shorted by the world, and they're going to develop they're not going to develop a new man. Communism says we're going to make a new man, the new man who is not going to be subject to innate human propensities. He's going to be redeveloped by indoctrination to be loving and equal, and etc. And the fascist says we're going to make a patriotic nationalist who defends our religion, our race, our language. But they're very similar. That's why Hitler, said, I'm a National Socialist Party.
Right. That's the
Yes.
part that it's so confusing because
It
as
is,
they called
because
Trump a fascist, they then declare
did.
that they're democratic socialists. I'm like, I'm almost positive that's what Nazis stood for, National
Yes.
Socialism. And and they're like, no, but he was alt-right. I'm like, okay. All right, guys, if you like this clip and you want to watch the full episode, click here. And if you want more content like this, you can subscribe to the show by clicking